Sign up for Pure Tokyoscope Patreon. You'll get access to full episodes, bonus video content, our Discord server, and an archive of past episodes. Head over to patreon.com/Tokyoscope Podcast to subscribe today.
It's the world we live in, Patrick. It's the world we live in.
Pretty dismal forecast for the future. No magazines, big tariffs, but finally we have something to celebrate here, Matt.
What's that?
50 years of Super Sentai. Matt, did you know that 2025 marks the 50th anniversary of Japan's Super Sentai TV superhero series?
Yes, it is. 50 years, because 1975 is when the world first saw a show called Himitsu Sentai Go Ranger.
That was the third part of what I'm going to call the holy trinity of Japanese TV heroes: Ultraman, Kamen Rider, and then Super Sentai in 75. And Shotaro Ishinomori had created Kamen Rider, so this was like his next big contribution.
He was insanely productive in that 70s period. Didn't he also, wasn't Robot KGK him?
Inazuman, tons of superhero shows.
I mean, it's amazing. And that's why Marvel Comics turned to him for help when they came out with Spider-Man in Japan. And these are all connected because the first two Sentai shows, which are Go Ranger and then Jacker Dengekitai, JAKQ, which only had 4 people in it because there's only 4 card suits. Actually, Patrick, those are only Sentai shows. I believe they've been kind of grandfathered in, but Super Sentai only really began when they started introducing the robots. And that all happened post Spider-Man, post Battle Fever J, which I think is also considered kind of grandfathered in as a Super Sentai show, even though it's based on a Marvel comic. So there's this interesting crossover where Marvel Comics licenses came to Japan, thanks to a gentleman named Gene Pelk, who is still healthy and with us in Japan, telling his awesome stories of those wild 70s days and nights of whining and dining Ishinomori Shotaro and getting him to adapt Marvel Comics into a Sentai-style form.
It's like, what do I need you for? I got Kamen Rider.
Yeah, exactly. So, but seriously, it's like Spider-Man coming out in 70, what was that, 7?
78 Spider-Man.
So Spider-Man, the introduction of a giant robot into these shows just really changed the entire calculus. And now suddenly there was more stuff. There was a singular thing that Popey/Bandai could build its marketing campaign around. And all of those robots, those, as far as Bandai and Popey were concerned, as long as you had a robot in the show, you could do anything else you wanted. It didn't matter what was going on content wise. So you had this kind of explosion of creativity happening in that late 70s through 80s and well up until today. It's still going on today. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is the 50th anniversary. So they have a 50th anniversary Super Sentai show called Number One Sentai Go-Zugers.
Yeah, they have these crazy names now.
I can't even pronounce it. It's like Goo X, like the new Gundam or whatever. I can't pronounce it. But they've been doing a lot of stuff recently to celebrate the 50th anniversary. There's a huge billboard up in Shinjuku Station with all the Super Sentai on them.
Wow.
There was also recently a stage event that they had. They had 49 Red Rangers all hopping around in one place at the same time.
49 problems and a Red Ranger ain't one. Is that what the song is about? I think so.
Going back to the very first one in 1975, apparently it commanded a 22% share rating. So nearly almost 1/4 of all TVs in Japan were watching Go Ranger, which is crazy.
It was big. I hear from my wife, I think her introduction to gender equality came on the playground when the boys made her play Pink Ranger and when she wanted to be Red Ranger. It's true. They would get boxes and sit in them to replicate the cars with the motorcycles with the sidecars that they'd ride around in. And they didn't have footballs though. It's funny. There's a weird football motif running through a lot of that kind of mid 70s Japanese pop culture, but kids didn't have access to footballs here. Go Rangers all get their secret killer attack is they all get together and kick this football, this football missile thing. They didn't have a robot. They had spaceships, which we know because those spaceships came to the States in the Shogun Warriors line. The Veridorine, the Veritank, those were all just Go Ranger random vehicles. And I remember as a kid playing with these and being these are kind of cool. I wonder what, it'd be cool if there was a show around these. It was in Japan.
So Go Ranger was kind of exported to the US. It was shown in Hawaii and on some Japanese language TV stations, like one in San Francisco, California, which I didn't see, but a lot of my Monster Kid friends who lived in the Bay Area did. And that really kind of changed their lives and helped kind of create this bedrock for early tokusatsu fandom.
It's interesting because my entree, is that the word, into the Sentai world came them almost exclusively through the Godaikin line of those big die-cast robot toys that Bondi of America, of Allentown, New Jersey, wherever the heck they were. They were like in New Jersey at that point. It was like The Sopranos, except instead of like running like a garbage operation, to hide all of their malfeasance, they're running like a Japanese robot toy import operation. But most of the Godaikins, not all, but a lot of them were Sentai robots. And it took a while to kind of put these pieces together because none of this was ever explained to us. The shows weren't really available in the States. Actually, though, I remember in the 80s, and I don't know if you caught this too, somebody dubbed Dynaman.
It's time now for Dynaman. 5 good-looking Japanese friends from all walks of life. Wushi, their leader, is Dyna Red. Juba, able to leap tall trees, is Dyna Black. Frankie, the human outboard motor, is Dyna Blue. Cowboy, the slow-thinking weapons expert, is Dyna Yellow. And their main squeeze slow gin is Dyna Pink.
The parody dub of Dynaman was shown on cable TV in the 1980s. They only did a handful of episodes, and it was pretty disrespectful. I thought it was kind of funny, but then again, I was probably like 10 years old and like the absolute right age for this sort of thing. But that was the first time I had seen a real, honest-to-goodness Super Sentai TV show in America.
Well, I remember being really like, I'm like, wow, it's a dude in a suit. Like, I don't know what I was expecting. Like, the robot is a dude in a suit. And because the toy, the Dyna Robo toy, they called him Dynaman in English, even though it's called Dyna Robo in Japanese, is this really like robotic looking squared off thing. It combines from like a little spaceship head thing, and there's like a truck for the body and a bigger truck for the legs, that kind of thing. But the suit is much more flexible than that. I remember turning the volume down because they kept making all of these stupid like wisecracks during the American version of it, but I just wanted to see the robot fighting the kaiju.
Before Mystery Science Theater, before Riff Tracks, we had people going, ow, that's gotta hurt.
Yeah, exactly. It was like a boing sound effects. And it's funny because when I spoke to Gene Pelk, that guy who was Marvel's man in Japan, he never saw these shows as cheesy or stupid or anything like that. He instantly understood how amazing they were.
The Shakespearean themes lurking just below the surface.
He knew how high budget they were. Actually, his own son, like he like loaned his son out to be like a kid in several of the episodes of, I think, Sun Vulcan. Marvel was actually indirectly involved in Sun Vulcan, which came out after Spider-Man. Yeah, it was Battle Fever, Spider-Man, Sun Vulcan were the ones that Gene was involved with. And then by that point, Marvel had gotten like in deep with the Transformers stuff. And he was one of the producers on the Transformers, the movie, which is another amazing like crossover piece of culture. But he told me that when he brought like reels, you couldn't like upload it to an FTP server back then. He literally brought reels of, I think, Go Ranger and Jacker Dengeki Tai to New York City, to Marvel Comics' offices, and showed them to the Marvel people. And he's like, we should be producing stuff like this in America. He showed it, and there was dead silence in the office room because like all of the other executives were completely mortified at how what they saw was like this low budget thing. And Stan Lee jumps up and goes, that's comics right there. But he wasn't like in control of the company, so he couldn't like actually make the deal to acquire it. And that's why years later it was Haim Saban who did it.
Yeah, because the other guys in the room were like, hey, we already have Bill Bixby as the Incredible Hulk. We don't need this.
Yeah, we're doing that big Hulk Thor crossover. It's going to be really cool. The kids are really going to love it.
We're going to let Bill direct. It's going to have the Mighty Thor in it. It's going to be great.
Did Bill direct that?
Bill Bixby directed the trial of the Incredible Hulk, which made a lot of viewers angry because the trial transformation sequence only happens in a dream, Matt. It's just a dream sequence.
David Banner wanted to end the running. He wanted to live in peace.
You have to stop someplace.
But once again, they made him angry. Maybe angry enough to kill.
Maybe I belong in a cage.
Now, imprisoned, he will struggle to hide the fury within him. But he will not succeed.
I can't stand trial. You have no choice.
Because now David Banner faces his greatest trial. The trial of the Incredible Hulk.
Wow, that's it. What a ripoff. It's a rug pull. It's like an NFT/meme coin rug pull. Bill Bixby, I'll never forgive you. Yeah, I still prefer Bill Bixby to the current Incredible Hulk. I'm sorry.
The current administration. And then things did go nuts in 1993 when Haim Saban unleashed the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers on American TV. By that point,
Yes.
I was too old for this kind of shit. I was already mainlining Japanese Super Sentai superhero shows like directly into my brain. But you could not help but notice the craze for Super Sentai stuff in America and the toys and just the mania.
My biggest problem at that point wasn't that I was too old for the Power Rangers, which I was by any objective definition. It was that by that point, the toys had transitioned away from the die-cast metal ones of our youth and were all plastic. And I was like, man, I would be like, how old was I in 93? I must have been like 20, 21 or 22. And I'm like prowling the Toys R Us aisle being like, man, could this be a Godaiken, like a modern day Godaiken that costs only $20 instead of like the $100 that I was paying back then? They're like $1,000 now.
Are you like yanking them out of little kids' hands? Say, let me see that. Give me that.
Give me that. Mercilessly body checking some kids so I could get my Robotech to the rescue stuff. The problem was that I personally feel that the designs sort of peaked in the late 80s, and by the 90s, they're already kind of running
plastic
on fumes.
dinosaurs. Yeah, they were plastic dinosaur toys.
And like, I don't think Katsushi Murakami, he was Popey's main designer from as far back as when Popey was founded to make the Kamen Rider. It wasn't even called a Popinica back then. I think it was called the Mini Kamen Rider Cyclone, a little die-cast Cyclone toy. He designed either himself or had like a huge say in designing almost all of those Sentai robots. But he had already kind of retired by the late 80s, early 90s, and I think you can kind of tell when things changed.
Because then it became all about Takashi Murakami, not Katsushi Murakami, right?
And there's also Haruki Murakami stopped writing all of the Power Rangers series.
All the screenplays, yes.
Exactly. The Haruki Murakami written, Katsushi Murakami designed, and perhaps Takashi Murakami promoted Power Rangers show would be a thing to behold.
I didn't really watch a lot of Power Rangers at the time. I did kind of like leave it on in the background. I've grown fonder of it as time has gone on because it's so cheesy and so, so impactful. I think if you actually play the Power Rangers theme around millennials, they'll just stop whatever they're doing and just start like fist pumping.
Go, go, Power Rangers! Go, go, Power Rangers! Go, go, Power Rangers! Mighty Morphin Power Rangers!
And I get it. I get it because I'm sure the adults in the room when Go Rangers came out, it's like, this is so much more boring than like stabbing people with bamboo sticks like we did when we were kids in 1945.
Man, we had Moonlight Masks. I would want to watch more modern Sentai shows, but they're like really hard to see. They're not really available for streaming, and they only show them like on terrestrial TV on Sunday mornings when I'm praying for forgiveness and trying to find an exit out the business. But I'm glad that kids are theoretically still interested in them, although I think they're more marketed more towards.
Well, I think the people who are most interested in this are Bandai, because it's like an excuse to market more toys.
I see little kids playing with Ultra Kaiju vinyl. I do see kids, but I don't see kids with a lot of Kamen Rider or Super Sentai stuff so much anymore.
Well, I don't think that, kids, there's an inflection point there where like Power Rangers it ruled the world from about 93 to 99. And then 99 came Pokemon, and that sort of changed everything.
Gamified everything, yeah.
And now everything is about that data, the cards, the collectability of that aspect of it. Like you can actually sick Pokemon against one another in gnarly battles to the death. It's a little bit more exciting, I guess, to kids than just dressing up in like red spandex and like punching your friend in the face a bunch of times. I don't know.
Again, daughter of PURE TOKYOSCOPE, she's just like, hey man, give me some money. I want to buy a new game. I said, give me some money. Give me some money to buy a new game. And I'm like, what about toys? We can go to Hobby Off. We can get you some like Super Sentai weapons or some vehicles
exactly.
or
Lady,
something.
No more games for you. You must dress up as Power Rangers, and you can dress up as the guy Power Ranger or the girl. It doesn't have to be the pink one. Don't limit her, man. Don't limit her. The Pink Rangers were famously played by very small guys in, I believe, most of the early Power Ranger shows. It's true. Not when they are girls in their human form, but when they have Sentai. I don't think there were many, aside from Shihomi Etsuko, there weren't that many female stunt women, I think, back then.
Is this like a Pink movie? Is that what you're talking about?
Exactly,
right now?
something like that. And it was dangerous stuff. Like, people would really get hurt on those sets. They'd like throw you through a plate glass window, or like there'd be explosions going off like a couple feet away from you where you're running.
There'd be a pet store run by an evil organization that turns children into cats and dogs. That's pretty dangerous, Matt.
Is that like putting litter boxes in schools? Were they like presaging the culture wars of today?
They want to promote the latest show with this whole 50th anniversary hoopla going on, but my suggestion is to watch any Super Sentai show from the first one, Go Ranger, to like the early 90s, like Jetman or something like that. And
yes,
guaranteed any random episode will kick your ass.
Actually, it's not a suggestion. It's an order to all of you listeners.
These are like Hulk Hogan's demandments, the prayers, the training, the vitamins, the Super Sentai episodes.
Knights in Patrick and Matt's service. You know, it's you must go out and watch Super Sentai tonight. You must.
To hear the rest of this episode, sign up for Pure Tokyoscope Patreon. You'll get access to full episodes, bonus video content, our Discord server, and an archive of past episodes. Head over to patreon.com/Tokyoscope Podcast to subscribe today.